Angel the floor. Okay, so hi everyone. Thanks for joining our session. I hope you're able to learn a lot today. My name is Leah Anderson. Oh, next slide, please, Ms. Hershey. My name is Leah Anderson. I'm a graduating senior criminology political science minor, and I was awarded I'm a Patricia Roberts Harris Fellow at Howard University. I won the Benjamin Gilman Scholarship, which I'll talk about later, the Floss Award from Howard University, and I did the Study Abroad Swahili program in Kenya, Ocean X Marine Biology in Jordan, studied abroad for a semester in Tunisia, and then over the summer, I did a field school in Belize with Dr. King, if any of you are familiar with her. I invited Angel here today, we can go to the next slide, to speak about the Critical Language Scholarship and her trips to Japan, because I'm mostly going to talk about Africa. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so nice to meet you all. My name is Angel Bryant, and I am a honors graduating senior, international affairs minor, a major, and Japanese minor. And just this past semester, I studied abroad in Japan, scholarship in Japan. And overall, I've traveled to Costa Rica, India, and Japan, and the total of over $26,000 in scholarships for study abroad, and that is not including the cost of the fully funded program. So on the next slide, I'll go into a little bit more in depth of my scholarships. So the two programs I participated in is the Kakahashi Inoue Scholars Program, which just started again this year, and I believe they're leaving during spring break to go to Japan, and then the Critical Language Scholarship. So the Kakahashi Inoue Scholars Program, that is for students who are currently studying Japanese and plan to continue studying Japanese. And so if you're in the Japanese program, hopefully Howard will be chosen again next year. You'll receive an email from a Japanese professor to apply to that. And then the Critical Language Scholarship is the U.S. Department of State's fully funded intensive critical language program, which Japanese is a part of, and Japanese is one of the more popular programs. It is a very competitive scholarship, and off the top of my head, I believe only 10% of all applicants are admitted across all the different programs. And you see on the slide some of my experiences on both of these programs. And the Critical Language Scholarship, we'll talk about my tips later. So on the next slide, a little bit more, I received scholarships. So of course, your institutional aid can and will be applied to your study abroad total costs for the fall and spring terms. And for me, that was my freshman scholarship, which totaled to about 13,400. And then for study abroad, usually the that partner with Howard will give you a automatic discount off of the tuition costs. And so program that was $2,000. And then that same program also had its own internal scholarships that I applied to, which resulted into another $2,000. And then some outside scholarships I applied to, or what I call like dollar scholarships. One is the Gilman Scholarship. I originally applied for $8,000, but they awarded me $3,000. So keep that in mind. Your final amount may be different. And then I also applied to a Japan-specific scholarship from the Bridging Foundation, and that was for $500 for the semester. And then your federal Pell Grants and any other aid that you receive, you can also use towards your or have that refunded to you. And so I had my Pell Grant refunded to me. And so on the next slide will be some of my tips that I have for you when studying or when applying for study abroad. And so before you apply, obviously, you really want to track the available scholarships that will be sometimes they are released before you even apply to study. So you can apply, and if either rescind or update your scholarship to reflect your current status. Track and apply to scholarships as they open, both your institutional and your provider scholarships. So if you do receive a scholarship from Howard, that will be applied for the fall and spring. And then your providers usually have a vast amount of scholarships you can apply directly through them. And also consider site-specific scholarships. So there was one site-specific or Japan-specific scholarship that I applied to, and it was called the Toshizo Watanabe Scholarship or something like that, but it was fully funded. And I unfortunately found it too late before I could use it to study abroad. But I really wish I had kept that scholarship in mind when I was applying. So there are a lot of people miss out on the scholarships that are specific to where they are going and also to your major. So while you are applying, everybody is in need, of course. So usually what sets you apart is essays. And so in your essays, I would say, please, I would stress to be specific, unique, and true to you. Only you should answer to a question. And also make sure that you answer all parts of the question or the prompt or the essay, because they are checking to make sure that you answered all of the parts. And if you'll have your essays reviewed, if it's not against the application rules, because it is for some, have them reviewed by a peer or by your professor, and also read them before you submit if possible. And then this next tip, I mean, I repurpose some of my essays because, rewriting the amount of essays that you need when you're applying to so many scholarships is just a little bit too much. And so, I mean, I don't really plagiarism, but just make sure like when you repurpose your essays that you're going back and you're tailoring it to that specific scholarship and making sure you're not, mentioning another scholarship in purpose essay, or you're not answering the prompt, you're just copying and pasting an essay into another. Make sure you're prompt. And then over here, I will paste those in the chat, but here are some resources that I used when I was applying to study abroad. And but I will paste those resources in the chat. And then I do have to leave very quickly because I do have a class after this. But if you have any questions about, critical language scholarship, Gilman, studying abroad in Japan, there's my email, and that is also my and follow-on service project, which you do have to do after Gilman. And you can go there and like look at it and see what I did. And then also you can contact me there as well. And so I'll paste all information in the chat, but thank you. That is my little part of this presentation.
Thank you, Angel. Do you mind dropping the name of the scholarship that you said you missed the deadline for as well?
Yes, I'll do that too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing your time with us this afternoon, Angel. Really, really great tips as someone who reviews scholarships for people. Tailoring it, making sure you're reading it like 2 and 3 times, answering all of the parts. I cannot tell you how many times I'll read an essay and it's just like, wow, that was really creative and a nice ride, but you did not answer the question. So really good tips. So thank you so much for your time. And we're going to share the slides, I think, with everyone, and it's hyperlinked. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, well then, yeah, so look out to receive the slides. They are hyperlinked correctly. And just take my contact down, and don't feel free to contact me at any time. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Angel. Okay, Leah, back over to you.
Okay, next slide, please. So I had Angel come and talk about the CLS because she has the personal experience with it. But as she mentioned, it is a scholarship that is solely for intensive language studying. To be expected from you, if you were to be awarded, is that you would do 15 hours a week in the classroom. Oops, that means left the N off the word instruction, but that's what, 3 hours a day or 6 hours 3 times a week. Just know like what you would be signing up for. It's very intense. But what it comes with is a full ride, basically, flight covered, visa covered, room and board covered. And they do go on excursions as well, but it's not included in the formal language instruction. Feel free to like raise your hand or drop questions in the chat as we go along. Oh, next slide, please. So to be eligible for the Critical Language Scholarship, you must be a US citizen or national at the time of application. Permanent residents are not eligible. You must be 18. You must have been enrolled in college this past fall or like the previous fall before the summer that you're planning to go. You must take 1 credit. Yes, you must be in an undergraduate program, and there are language requirements, which will be on the next slide. They have to be a critical language, so not just any language, like Spanish is not usually considered one. So offered at the beginning level is Arabic. I don't know. Azerbaijani, I don't know where that is. Forgot to look it up. Chinese, and so Arabic and Chinese, like the CLS Spark, is an online thing. It's not in the country. So Hindi, Indonesian, Persian, Portuguese, Russian, Swahili, Turkish, and Urdu, you need no experience to go out of the country and be paid to study those languages. In the middle requires 1 academic year, which is usually considered 2 semesters. Arabic, Chinese, Korean, and Russian, and Japanese requires 2 full years before being able to apply to go to Japan. Next slide, please. So moving forward, I'm going to go over the eligibility first, just so that you don't get your hopes up if you're not eligible. So the first is the Benjamin Gilman. You must be a citizen of the US. You must be in good academic standing as an undergrad, but this is not a merit-based scholarship, so there is no GPA requirement. It just means like at Howard, you basically need a 2.0. You have to be a Pell Grant recipient at the time of application. And now I was not a Pell Grant recipient when I applied, but I appealed my financial aid like in the nick of time to try to see if I can get my Pell Grant back. And thankfully I did. So yeah. You have to be looking to apply to a study abroad program or internship that is not in a level 4 country or level 3. Yeah, level 3 or 4. They have to be level 1 or 2, which you can check on the like State Department's travel advisory website. Next slide, please. So the Gilman offers 2 different scholarships to go study abroad. One is just like the regular Gilman scholarship, up to $5,000. And then the second is an enhancement award of up to $3,000 to study a critical language. So I won the 8,000. I got 5,000 to go to Kenya, and then I got 3,000 to study Swahili. Upon your return, you have the opportunity to take a proficiency interview if you want the certificate that states that you are fluent, which is always good to have. I would have taken advantage of it if I felt that I became fluent, but I did not. But it was great. It was a great time. I learned a lot. And then the second benefit of the Gilman is that you have non-competitive eligibility, which basically means like if you were applying for a government job, it's almost like you're applying internally as if you just did a year as a government employee with the State Department. But I didn't take advantage of that because I wasn't looking for a government job. But as a graduating senior, I feel like had I still had that, it would have helped me out if I was looking for a job now. And yes, you do have to do a return project, which mine is doing presentations like this and just helping out in the Bud Center. Is nothing crazy or that requires too much of a commitment. And you become a part of a network of all the alum who, they could be working in the State Department, most people still do international work, and you are able to communicate with those people through a portal. Next slide, please. Oh, deadline is March 7th. The Benjamin Gilman is awarded twice a year, in March and October. March 7th, October 10th are the deadlines. Okay, next scholarship I'm going to go over is the Foreign Language and Area Studies. I think it's a fellowship. These are usually given to Howard students to study in the Howard African Studies department. So while there are like eligibility requirements, most of these you don't have to concern yourself with, because you'd most likely use it to go on a Howard trip. But you must be an undergraduate student with at least one semester of an African language, the African language that you're wishing to go study abroad. So Howard's African department has the Swahili, the Yoruba. Is it just those two? I believe so.
Nope, Yoruba, Swahili, Wolof, Zulu,
Oh,
Somali, there's a bunch. Mhm.
the study abroad?
Oh, no, not for study abroad, but those are languages, but you can also use this for the semester, like
Yes.
to offset your semester costs if you are in one of those languages during the semester.
That is true. That is true. So graduate students may enroll at the beginning level if the beginning level is not offered at their institution. Summer fellowships can only be used for intensive study, but it can also be used on campus during the summer as well. And so, yeah, these bottom eligibilities is what I was referring to as like, I wouldn't worry about it I would try to study abroad with one of the Howard study abroad programs that are already eligible for this scholarship, if that makes sense. Next slide.
Yeah, so the Howard programs are Yoruba, so going to Nigeria. Swahili goes to Kenya. The Zulu goes to South Africa. So those, I think, are the three current study abroad offerings that would align.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mhm.
Next slide, please. So what's covered by FLAS, I'm going to start with the undergraduate fellowship. During the summer, you can get $5,000 for tuition and $3,500 for living expenses. However, this is one of those scholarships where they award you that amount, but then you need to give them that amount right back. That $5,000 is because you have to receive credit. You have to use that money to pay Howard for credit, which is $3,500. So then you end up with $1,500 left, and they use that to book your flight. And then $3,500, I think you do get the $3,500 to use at your own discretion, but it came at the end of the summer. The trip was over by the time we got our $3,500. So I will talk about that later. Be prepared to still spend out of pocket costs because these scholarships can come in late. During the academic year, you are required to take one African studies class every semester to be awarded $10,000 tuition and $5,000 living stipend. The preferences mentioned on the website are those who have a clear concentration in African language and area studies. They plan to do future research in Africa and have an excellent academic record shown by GPA, letters of rec, and demonstrate a need. My advice would be to build a rapport with Dr. Mwaka and other African studies professors, because they, as far as I know, they pretty much choose who gets the FLAS and they choose their own students, and they end up having to choose between all of their students because there's not enough funding. And so you definitely want to stand out to them on a personal level. you have to make it seem like they wouldn't want to leave without you because like you've pulled at their heartstrings and you're important to them. But not just because you want to study abroad, but be active in your class because you have to have taken their classes to go on their study abroad trip. Be present in class, show up every day. And yeah, they'll want you to go on their trip with them. So yes, and, oh yeah, that second tip is to stay in active communication. Even if you haven't been awarded the scholarship yet, if you're applying for it, be persistent in communicating with people like Dr. Mwaka, like, I really want it. You know, like, you can act like it's yours and you really need it. And I just feel like they'll give it to you personally. Ask about the Lucy Morton and Globalization Scholarship because you have to be nominated for it and you don't have to really do anything. You just have to be nominated. Like we just got an email saying, reply to this email if you want to be nominated for a $5,000 scholarship. And guess what? I didn't reply to the next day and I didn't get it, but some people did. So it's
And
that.
that's for College of Arts and Sciences, Lucy Moulton Globalization. That's for College of Arts and co-op students. Just
Okay.
side note.
Okay. So my last tip is you may not have the funds for the study abroad trip. However, I still apply and I still go through the process of trying to go. And if last minute you didn't come up with the money and you can't go, that's unfortunate, but I wouldn't rule yourself out from the very jump because you don't have the money yet. That's the point of introducing you to all these scholarships. There's potential. So the summer application and fall application is actually due today. So if you aren't already having your eyes on the scholarship, it's not too late to apply for next year or turn it in today. I don't know, but yeah, it's due today. There's also the Fulbright Hays, which is for the Swahili Study Abroad program. You can go to Kenya with the FLAS Award or the Fulbright Hays Award, and you can be awarded both. The Fulbright Hays Award just requires you to be more advanced in Swahili, meaning you do FLAS first. And the Fulbright Hays is just like fully funded. You just go to Kenya. So you stay for 8 weeks doing intensive Swahili free. That's that. But I didn't do a slide on that. Next slide, please. Okay. This one is so cool to me. The Obama Voyager Scholarship. So in order to be eligible for this scholarship, you must be a junior. That's why I say I mentioned eligibility first. Because if you're not a junior, no, you must be a sophomore, I'm sorry. Going into your junior year. So next fall. Or transferring from a 2-year college, which probably not any of you, must demonstrate a financial need. You have to have a 3.0. You must be committed to public service. You must be a citizen. And there's a monthly commitment in meetings, professional development meetings. Next slide, please. So I love this scholarship because I just think it is just a blessing if you can win. You can win up to $50,000 in financial aid, $25,000 for your last 2 years of college, and you'd be awarded $10,000 for a work travel experience between your junior and senior year of college. You will design your own program. And I think that makes it super amazing because you literally get the money to plan your own trip. Like instead of having to be tied down to a group or just, yeah. And last but not least, you get a 10-year travel stipend after you graduate. Airbnb provides $2,000 travel credit every year for the next 10 years for a total of $20,000 in Airbnb credits. And the deadline for that is Wednesday, March 27th. So if you are a sophomore, rising junior, please apply. Next slide, please. These are some honorary mentions. You can just take a picture of this, leave it up for like a minute. These include like
We're gonna
gap.
send the slides too.
Oh,
So,
yes. Okay,
yeah,
yes.
it's okay.
These include gap years, fellowships like the Pickering, Payne, and Rangel, and then the Bourne Scholarship, which is another critical language scholarship that is not included in this presentation because it is very specific. But yeah. Next slide, please. These are all great. My last pieces of advice or takeaways would be confident in your application and always stay encouraged and have faith. Like you may have, I had $30 and applied to like, I don't know, $25,000 worth of like programs that I was expected to pay out of pocket and paid absolutely nothing and got double that in scholarships and had money left over. So stay organized, meet deadlines, join the Bunch Brigade GroupMe for resources, stay connected with the Ralph Bunche Center and the African Studies Department. Apply for the COAS Ambassadorship Program because they will also pay you to go study abroad over the summer. As I mentioned, be prepared to have to spend hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars out of your own pocket before the scholarship money comes in for flights, vaccinations, clothes, getting your hair done. Like, you never know, but it really adds up a lot. Don't be afraid to ask for help from anyone, whether that be like people in the Ralph Bunche Center or student alum who have won the award that you want, or even like family and friends financially. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And lastly, check your email and apply to everything that interests you. I was able to go on a marine biology trip to Jordan, as I mentioned earlier. I'm a criminology major, but it came in my email and I love water. So I applied and I ended up on a boat for 2 weeks doing marine biology. No idea what I was doing, but I loved it. And then I also was applied to do archaeology in Belize through my email. So please check your email and just know if it came to your email, that's because someone came to Howard University looking for students with the same interests as you. There's not like a huge pool of applicants. For the fellowships I posted on the last slide, the reason I'm not going into detail on them is because there is a contact, Mrs. Theon Gruberford. This is her email, and she is like the go-to for all of the fellowships and gap years. She hosts like little retreats and application workshops towards the end of the year. If you get in touch with her and express interest in things like Fulbright and things of those sorts. My last tip would be to sign up for profellow.com. I found out about them because they came to visit Howard last year, and it is a updated database of fellowships, internships, study abroad, scholarships. It's updated like on a daily basis. It's very organized, easy to sort through the information. It's like one of those search engines for scholarships, except it's actually accurate and not full of useless scholarships. So I love that site. I think that's my last slide. Is it? Yes. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, definitely. You can take yourself off mute. You can drop it in the chat. Leah, that was fantastic. I just want to emphasize a couple of things that you mentioned. I cannot tell you how many opportunities go unclaimed just because folks are not checking their email. So 100% pro tip right there. I learned something new, so we're going to add that link that you just shared to our website. But Stephanie, go ahead. You have your hand up. You can take yourself off mute.
Hi. I just had two questions, I guess. One question, I missed the last part about the website with scholarships available. What was that website again?
It's called profellow.com.
Okay. And then my second question was, well, I started the application process for some study summer abroad scholarships, and a lot of those are need-based. And with my FAFSA, the expected family contribution is no longer accurate for my situation. And so I was wondering how I should navigate going about situations where my form isn't the most up to date, or like the number they're asking for isn't the most up to date.
Is
Or
there
where
any
my
way, sorry, is there any way that you can get updated information? Like, have you tried reaching out to the FAFSA people or maybe financial aid to give you a statement?
I have not thought of that, but I could reach out to financial aid for a statement.
Possibly, I don't know. But I would definitely circle back and try to, just like Leah mentioned, appealing. I don't know if you want to talk about that process. But yeah, there's got to be something that you can do. Like, I would check with the source to begin with, and see if you know that it's not accurate for however way that you know that. So I would reach out to that entity to get, an accurate statement.
Okay,
So,
thank
Leah, I
you.
don't know if you have anything to
Yeah,
add.
just to add to the appeal portion, if the information has changed because a situation has changed for whatever reason, I appealed because my little sister enrolled in private school and they were not taking into consideration her tuition. So that's how I was able to get my appeal back. So if there's some type of change, I would definitely try to appeal that through the financial aid department. I think that was them. Yes, and try to get it in as quick as possible. And
You
you can
appeal that
email
through
me.
Howard?
Yes, through
Okay.
Howard.
Mhm.
If you can
Okay.
email me, I can forward you the lady who I was working with, who took it, like who really helps me on a personal level get it done because she understood the turnaround.
Can
So
you put your email in the chat? I don't know if that's in the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay,
no.
Soleil, go ahead.
Hi, thank you guys for this presentation. I just had a question about like the information. You guys showed a lot of scholarships. Will you guys be able to like either share or like post these with everybody who attended to meeting just so we can look back and refer to them? Or
Yeah,
and if
we're
not,
gonna
that's okay.
email the slides out and the recording to everyone who was registered.
All right, perfect. And then my last question was, I know you one of the speakers had mentioned that like she gets stuff like that to her email. I never really get study abroad or fellowship or internship stuff to my email. So is there like a specific email list that I should like sign up for or anything like that? I don't know if it's because sometimes I have troubles with my email because there's an accent in my name or different reasons, but just because I had no idea about these opportunities at all.
Yeah, so I would just say, as sort of someone from the admin side who sends things out that like never get open, if you know that you have an issue with your email, 100% you should be checking your spam like you check your regular email, because stuff can just be sitting over there and you don't know it. You can work with ETS to like take things like Bison Advisor. If that's blocked for you, a lot of things are coming through Bison Advisor. So work with ETS to get them like off of your, or like your approved, onto your approved contacts list. So just see kind of what you can do, ETS wise. But yeah, Leah, I don't know. I think most of these things that we're talking about are not necessarily like directly study abroad. They're just general opportunities, and they may have like an international component. But yeah, Leah, do you know if there's any sort of like mailing list? You can definitely sign up for the Bunch Center's mailing list. We also
How would I do
have-
that? Do I just go to their website or
Yeah,
should I
if you
call
go to our
them?
website, there's a pop-up that asks you to sign up for our newsletter, so you can do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Leah, did you have anything to add?
I was just wondering, what is your major?
So right now I'm a poli-sci major and I'm an economics and legal communications double minor.
Okay, I asked because it's usually emails coming from like the department you're in. Like I don't get, School of Business emails or anything like that. It's
Yeah,
usually straight
that
criminology,
that makes sense. I was
sociology.
like, yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was like, is it more directed towards international affairs students? Because ultimately that's like kind of the concentration that I'm in, like with international relations, international affairs. So that's why I was like curious.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
and
try to get
we'll-
your email fixed for sure.
Yeah, I'll also, when we send out the recording and the slides, send the link to join the Bunch Brigade. So that's also a good group me to be a part of. If you're interested in international things, there are opportunities that get pushed out there as well. So yeah, we'll send that. Any other questions?
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, well, if there are no final questions, we'll go ahead and wrap it up this afternoon. Leah, thank you again for taking the initiative to share all of the fantastic resources that you've accumulated in true Bison fashion, truth and service, all day, every day. So I appreciate you taking the time to give back in this way. And yeah, we're here at the Bunch Center. Again, we'll be sending out an update. You'll have the contact information and slides and everything. So if there are no final questions, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you again, Leah, for your time and putting this
Thank
together.
you. Thank you all for coming. Have a
All
great
right.
afternoon.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.